These two plants are the exact same age, the exact same plant, under the exact same lighting, under the exact same watering conditions, in the exact same soil. But this one has probably 4 more leaves than this one does. And the growth of it is much healthier looking than this one is. And that is because there's something entirely invisible controlling these plants' growth. If you don't know who I am, hi, hello, my name is Ashley. I have a bachelor's of science in soil science. I like to take said science and apply it to all things plants. And that's what I do with all my videos. But with that being said, if you enjoy that sort of stuff, then please hit that subscribe button. It is the free, kind, helpful thing to do. It helps me continue to produce these videos, and it helps me beat out the AI algorithm that is seemingly taking over the gardening YouTube space, which is insane. When I tell you it is unhinged, YouTube basically tells me that that's what's happening, for lack of a better term, which is hugely unfortunate considering there's a lot of great information on the internet presented by people who are real and actually gardening. But like I said, free, simple, helpful thing to do is to hit that subscribe button. And I would be endlessly thankful to you if you did so. And the Geek Crew would also be endlessly thankful and grateful to you as well, because this is where they come to hang out 3 times a week. So what is this invisible thing we're talking about? Well, what I like to call it is the temperature mismatch stress. And it is the single biggest reason for why your seedlings are underperforming. It does not matter if they're seedlings started indoors or if they are seedlings started out in the garden. This temperature mismatch can and will affect your seedlings greatly. I think we have all been told that seedlings need warmth, just kind of like my soul sometimes needs warmth in order to ensure that I'm still human and alive. But that's not always the truth. Think of plants as your typical redhead. They like warmth, but they also like cold as well. Now, when I say cold, I don't mean cold. I very simply mean a change in temperature from a daytime high to a nighttime low. Or in some cases, you could even look at the mismatch between your above ground biomass and your roots. Warm above ground biomass and cold roots is another temperature mismatch that can cause problems. So let's talk about the roots first. Cold roots actually slows down the enzyme release. These are what we call exudates. These exudates, or enzymes that are released, actually slows down the uptake of nutrients or the breakdown of nutrients in and around the root. This results in reduced nutrient transport, but it also changes how much water is uptaken. So because plant science is one of those things that are much different than medical science is, it's really hard to find a paper that specifically references tomatoes or crops that are started in small seed cells and then bumped up into large seed cells and then placed outdoors. It is much easier to find a lot of studies based around cash crops that make money, because that's where the studies are performed. But there is one in 2010 that I can take information from and extrapolate it into what we're doing here today. And that is a study that was done on apricot cuttings. Now, these cuttings were placed into soil. And they found that the best way to get roots to form on these cuttings, was via ensuring there was a lower mismatch between the upper biomass and the below ground biomass. And that rule seems to hold true for most plants, just based on the very simple plant physiology things that took place in that apricot study. So you're never going to have your ambient temperature be the same temperature as your roots. That's not possible. But what we want to aim for is somewhere around 2 degrees in difference. So we want our ambient temperatures to be around 25 and our root temperatures to be somewhere around 22, 20 at the lowest. You're much better off dropping your ambient temperatures to match the root temp that you can achieve than vice versa. Now, outdoors, this can become a little bit more difficult, and the mismatch may be reversed depending on where you are. So say you're somewhere warm, because lots of people on the channel are from California, Australia, etc. and so forth. These soils, you're going to want to ensure stay cooler than the above ground biomass, because what you can end up with is hot roots and cool air. In a cold climate, you obviously want to make sure the opposite is the case. So in a cool climate, the best way to achieve this is actually using things like those little mini greenhouses that help to focus the temperature and heat in and around that plant. This will warm, obviously, ambient temps, but also the below ground temps as well. We also want to ensure that there's no mulch on the garden right now, because right now that dark black earth is actually heating up, which is what we want, because that is going to be your limiting factor in a cold climate. Once things warm up, you can put that mulch back on to help kind of cool those roots down, and then obviously help to retain some of that moisture. But we right now want to expose as much ground as possible. Now, unfortunately, this isn't just something that we can look at later. It is something we need to focus on right now with these plants. Very simply put, there is a window of root acceleration, if you will. There is an immense amount of root activity that takes place when plants are kind of at this seedling stage. After that, the development does tend to slow down, and therefore what you develop now is and what will carry your plant through to its adult life. So you need to act quickly and as soon as possible to help mitigate that temperature change. So in this case, this guy was in a different area than this guy was. He was on a heat mat that I had forgotten that I left plugged in, and he was also in a warmer upstairs environment. This guy was in the basement, not on a heat mat, and it shows, to say the least. Now, the reason why this guy could stay in or on a heat mat and not become this really leggy, straggly thing is because the temperature of the room matched the heat mat. There wasn't a massive mismatch where that temperature on the mat was really high and the ambient was really cool. They matched each other, and therefore the plant matched that growth. So next, let's talk about what I like to call the photosynthetic bottleneck. You can give your plant all the light in the world. Another great testament to it is these two plants. They were under the exact same grow lights, just in different ambient conditions. And so if you can give these plants all the light in the world, it means nothing if they don't have the temperature to coincide with it. Photosynthesis depends on three really main, not often thought about factors. Obviously light, but it also is affected by temperature, enzyme activity, and the movement of CO2, which is why I did that video on fans and why fans need to be used immediately to help displace that CO2 around the plant. It doesn't have to just do with CO2 being present. It has to do with its movement around the plant. And when you have the right lighting, but not the right temperature, you're actually causing your plants a lot more stress. Next up is your cold root lockout. So cold roots actually do two really main things. Your roots permeability drops, and that includes for not just water, but also for nutrients. And your hydraulic conductivity also decreases. So these yellowing leaves you see on this plant, this drooping you see, at first light, looking at it, you're probably thinking nutrient deficiency, but it actually is completely down to the temperature. Now, another great way to help ensure that a plant like this that's already doing really well, and that there's obviously not a massive temperature mismatch, is to water with water that is close to, if not similar to, the room temperature, maybe slightly warmer. That can make a big difference and go a long way in ensuring that the plant continues to perform well. Now, a great way to actually know kind of where this is sitting versus where this is sitting is through a heat gun that actually will take the surface temperature of both. So you can actually take a shot of the leaves and then a shot of the soil to kind of get this exact as possible, depending on how intense you want to go about this. You can obviously also get heat mats that you can kind of change or alter depending on what the ambient temperature is. You can obviously get heaters, that sort of thing. What you'll see with these guys is you're going to see a massive explosion in all of my plants here shortly, because I'm going to use the next thing to my advantage, and that is actually the idea of temperature differential. Now, this is a concept that I taught the Geek Crew about, I want to say 2-3 years ago, and ever since then I've been doing little videos on it, and so this will be another one that goes into that idea here. But essentially speaking, this whole idea of temperature differential, I am expecting, because it works really, really well, I'm expecting a lot of influencers out there to catch wind of it and then also make videos about it. So remember where it came from first. I'm just joking. But it does work pretty fantastically. And so I expect it over time to kind of blow up into something bigger and better. I'm just too small peanuts to really make a difference. But I think you're going to hear about this one more and more. Kind of like how you're starting to hear about the other one that I made years ago. which was about the planting depth of your tomatoes and how sinking them to the hilt is pointless in a cold climate, because literally the point of sinking them to hilt is to find cold soil, which we've got an abundance of here. So any Hoosers, positive versus negative differential or temperature differential. So positive diff is when your nighttime temp is actually warmer than your daytime temp. This results in shorter, thicker, stumpier plants, which is what we want in a lot of instances, because that protects the plant against mechanical damage, against wind. It makes it more sustainable to uphold the fruit and the vegetables that it needs. It makes it much, much easier for turgor pressure and capillary action and all the things that help the water get to the top of the plant. It's much easier when a plant is more compact, if you will. And so what we're aiming for is a negative diff. Stem elongation is completely driven by gibberellins. And that, very simply put, is a plant hormone responsible for stem elongation or cell elongation. So when we do this, we're actually suppressing that hormone, allowing for that stem elongation to kind of be nip and tuck. So a couple things I want you to think about, and I'm going to kind of lay out a bunch of different potential systems that may exist out there that you would need to control to be able to control this. So number one is like your classic setup. So you got your daytime, you got your lights running during the daytime, nighttime you shut them off. That in turn, just inadvertently, is a positive diff. And this will result in that kind of leggier, thinner stem. So what you may choose to do is to run the lights and then at night actually have a room heater going to help elevate that temperature at nighttime if you're growing indoors. Now, if you're going into a greenhouse, this is much more simpler to do. What you're going to do is you're going to lock everything up for the night and maybe even throw some fabric over top of your plants for the night. You're going to bump that space heater inside of your greenhouse. And I'm going to do a separate video here on just how to heat a greenhouse and all that sort of stuff in a cold climate. But what you're going to do is you're going to heat up that greenhouse during the nighttime. Everything's locked up like Fort Knox. And during the daytime, once you shut that space heater off, that will keep it so that the solarization will keep it warm-ish or warmer, but it won't drop it too much. The other option is if it's above 10 degrees Celsius, everything gets shut off, that door gets opened up, and a fan is placed in there, and you're just blasting those plants with cool air. But say you don't have a greenhouse, and say you don't want to leave your plants outdoors because it is too cold, say it's 10 degrees Celsius or something crazy or less, all day. You can actually just do the shock method. So what this is, it's a 2 to 3 hour cold shock where you quite literally are taking your plants, maybe you're opening the window in the room that they're in and flooding it with cold air for 2 to 3 hours. Then you're slamming it all back shut. And oddly enough, it ends up that these plants in turn can and will perform as though they were in a negative diff scenario. The other option is you take the flats outdoors. You get up in the morning, put the flats outside, feed the dog, feed the kids, twiddle your thumbs, read the paper, watch a YouTube video or two, cook breakfast, yada, yada, yada. And then you bring them indoors. Again, hour, 2, 3 hours, just anything cooler, not below freezing. We don't want to do this when it's freezing, but just something cooler. That kind of cold shock in the morning, bring them all back indoors. And that again is enough to cause that negative diff, which in turn causes kind of that stumpier stem, better growth that we're looking for. Me personally, what I do is I don't worry too much about temperature diff indoors. So downstairs, it's cool, which is how I end up with plants like this. And that's just inevitable. I could run a space heater down there. Don't get me wrong. I just don't. And up here, I end up with still, I don't find this an ideal plant. I think this is a little bit ick, in my opinion. That's maybe me being a plant snob and knowing that there's better potential out of this plant, but there's nothing wrong with it. It's going to produce, it's going to do fine, it's whatever. But like if I wanted to show off my best or, show you what I could really do, it wouldn't be this. But that's because this plant is just in a warmer environment. It's in a more stable environment, and the temperature changes aren't as mismatched between the ambient and the soil, which is how I end up with this. But I will say it's still not ideal. So what I could be doing is I could be opening the window. But what I do is here, I'm going to move these out probably this week into the greenhouse. And then I'm going to, on the days that it's warm, that heater gets shut off and the door gets opened entirely. And these guys get to freeze their bananas off Again, maybe 2 to 3 hours in the morning if it's below that 10 degrees Celsius mark. But if it's above that, they ultimately get to experience it in all its glory. So that being said, this is what Google says you should watch next because they're watching you. And this is my video that I most recently posted because I don't know what goes with this video. How to pot up tomatoes. That's what this video will be. How I pot up my tomatoes because I do it differently. And I will talk to you guys next time. Bye.